it. Okay. So thank you for joining us today. My name is Wendy Johnson, and together with Doreen Zitter, we will be your hosts today. Um, we're on mute as people join, but feel free to unmute and raise your virtual hand. Hi, Charles. Or you could just simply flag your hand across the screen or enter your comments in the chat box when you want to join in the discussion. This is a sharing session, and we hope it will be fun for you to join in. And for sure, all thoughts on the topic are welcome. We've also prepared some material to guide our discussion. Well, now that we're seeing the light at the end of the pandemic tunnel, maybe you're turning your thoughts to getting on with some bucket list plans that weren't possible to do these past 18 months. Or maybe you've used some of the time to dream and do a project or two on your list. Or maybe you're thinking about doing a bucket list and have some questions or are looking for tips about doing one. Whatever stage you're at, let's discuss and just talk buckets. So to get us started, and again, using the virtual hand icon, pardon me, or just flagging your hand, does anyone have a bucket list? And if so, what's on it? So I'm just going to pause here, and if anyone would like to share, please do so.
Well, I could. I could, but I can't wave my hand because I'm not on video.
That's okay, Lynn, not to worry about that.
But I really miss travel because I traveled extensively for the past 20 or 30 or 40 years. And, but I made a serious decision never to get on another cruise ship. Oh my God, because
Right.
the stories were so terrible. But I have promised Vianne Timmons, who was the president of our university, to go to Newfoundland. My first trip, once I start traveling again, is to go to Newfoundland because I've never been there. And I've been pretty well every place else in Canada, but how I missed Newfoundland, I don't know. And Nunavut, I haven't been to Nunavut. So that's on my bucket list, and I hope I'll be strong and well enough and that I won't be afraid to get on a plane, because right now I am afraid to get on a plane because of the corona.
Right.
I don't know how do other people feel about traveling now?
Well, I know for me, it's still a big question mark. I know the airline industry has done a lot to work on safety with masking and so forth, and air cabin control. But you're still moving around with people and through airports, and so I'm just a bit on hold until I see how it all works out through the summer months. But with family outside of Regina in two different provinces, I certainly want to get there. Other thoughts?
But regarding the travel, me specifically, because my family, part of them live overseas, we're quite hesitant about doing it, but we are determined that we will conquer our fears and go, because my grandchildren are more important to be able to see. But it'll be 3 years probably before we actually get there, you know. So yeah, I agree with you, Lynn. It is a hesitant thing, and if traveling is a big part of your bucket list, you are it is going to be difficult to accomplish some of those things. But there's virtual travels too. You can go in, and now they have a lot of virtual tours online that you can actually go, and you can go through the Louvre, and you can go through a lot of the different museums in the world. It's not quite like being there, but it's a in between.
That's a good point, Doreen. I actually, a friend of mine conducted a virtual art show in BC last year, the Soup Fine Art Show, and so it was a real treat to go online and visit the gallery and the artists and hear the presentations that way. So great point in terms of we we don't have to put our dreams on hold. We just have to look at them in a different way.
I don't have a bucket list per se, but I do have some things that I'm interested in doing. When the pandemic broke out, that was just at the time we were about to finalize all of our travel arrangements to go overseas. So that didn't happen. So excuse me. So we're still looking forward to making that trip and going to the places that I hadn't been before. Um, uh, what I had heard is going to Newfoundland. And I thought that was kind of interesting because I always wanted to visit all of the provinces, and I haven't. The one place I haven't got to and want to get to is Newfoundland. I haven't been to the territories as well, so those are some places. And what we decided is we would make a trip out of country, and we would make a trip in country and visit a place we hadn't seen before. So we've been doing that for years. One out at least every year, one out of country visit, and then one in the country, and getting to know our own country more often. So as far as traveling, we're looking forward to the point of being able to see our kids. It's been 18 months now. It's too long. So we're looking forward to that too.
So
Any
when
other-
how would we go about making a bucket list? Maybe we can get started.
Yes, I was just going to say let's some great sharing, and thanks so much. And now we'll move into some prepared material and discussion as we go through that material. All right, so how is a bucket list helpful? Uh, the great thing about bucket lists is that they are personal, and anyone can do one and reap the benefits. It's it's really a project that people have been doing forever, over centuries. Maybe they didn't call it a bucket list, but it's 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 certainly been it's certainly as old as time itself. We came across a particular quote from Eleanor Roosevelt, former First Lady of the United States from 1933 to 1945, making her the longest serving First Lady. And while she wasn't speaking directly to bucket lists, I think it speaks directly to us about our topic this morning. Eleanor once said, "The purpose of life, after all, is to live it, to taste experience to the utmost, to reach out eagerly and without fear for newer and richer experience." Indeed, I say amen to that and count me in. A well-kept bucket list can help us live our lives to the fullest with all the time we have left on this earth. The term is literally derived from kick the bucket and list, hence a list of all the things we want to do before we move on to the next life or world, whatever your spiritual beliefs may be. Doing one became particularly popular after the release of the movie Bucket List, starring Morgan and Freeman and Jack Nicholson, back in 2007. So again, what's in it for you? Well, it's a fun way to achieve your dreams. And really, it doesn't have to be onerous. It can be adventurous or pretty simple. And it can even help you dream bigger. It's a list of all the goals you still want to accomplish, dreams you want to fulfill, and life experiences you still want to enjoy. And it's a focus on what matters most to you. Please keep this in mind. It's not what is expected or what you're supposed to do. It's about what you want to do. And again, the bottom line is it's your goals, ones that keep you on track and keep you motivated to turning those dreams into reality. All right. Now, some people, as I was looking into this subject a bit more and researching what other people have done, some consider a reverse bucket list and doing that as a companion piece. A reverse bucket list is really a tool to help deal with feeling overwhelmed. And just a bit about that overwhelming point. It's easy to do with daily activities and caring for family members, or even goals on getting your bucket list done. And that's where a bucket list can come in handy. It's a great tool for creating a list of things and laying out the goals you've already accomplished. Surprise yourself. Doing a reverse bucket list is really looking back over your life and assessing how far you have come will help you keep motivated, perhaps by seeing some missing or new pieces, and inspire you to achieve more of your dreams. In a nutshell, a reverse bucket list can help you look at life differently with new perspective and energy. And bonus, if we've been a bit shy about sharing our accomplishments, it's a lovely life summary and legacy piece to pass on to family, however we define family. Okay, we're going to stop here for a minute and ask you to share some of your thoughts on what we've just talked about in the prepared material, in getting ready to gather your, or pardon me, in just in creating a bucket list and in perhaps doing a reverse bucket list. Any thoughts on those ideas?
I'm one for making lists. I don't know about the rest of you, but I make lists practically every day to say what I'm going to do. I don't know why I do it, but I've always done that, is to make myself lists. But then I get a problem is that I have so many lists all over the place. I forget which list I'm really working on. So I almost have lists to remind me to work on lists. But the reality is that it does keep me focused on what I want to do. And I think this is what the whole idea behind the bucket list is to to put it down into writing. It's kind of like when you want to do something to really motivate you to do it, you have to tell somebody else that you're going to do it, because then it's like a commitment. So writing it down on a bucket list to me is like making a commitment to myself. I don't know if that applies to anybody else.
You know what? I didn't make a list, a bucket list per se, but in thinking about it, what I did do is I did a memory board, not a memory board, but what I did is I went and I pulled out a whole bunch of magazines and I started clipping and cutting, and I created a board that I hung up in where my computer is, and it's all of the things that are important to me and all the places I want to go, things that I want to achieve, and I grabbed pictures of it, and I put words on it, and it's I look at it all the time, and I'm looking at it right now. I can see the different places I wanted to go, a cruise ship. I wanted to have a home overlooking the water. All these things that I would like to achieve yet in my lifetime. And so that's what I did.
And did that work for you?
Well, a number of the things that I have on my board, yeah. It's funny how you see it and it doesn't register because you just see it regularly all the time, and it's just a constant reminder of things that you want to do, and you go back and you just seriously look at the collage of all these pictures and ideas, and you realize that a lot of those you've already ticked off. So yeah, I think it does.
Excellent. Anybody else? Okay, well, let's keep. Oh, I'm sorry. I think I see a hand being raised here. Colette, would you like to unmute?
I think, did I get it unmuted? I think so.
Yes, you did.
Yeah, I agree with the two previous speakers. I think it does help when you write it down. It's suddenly becomes more tangible, and I feel I'm more committed when I write it down. I've done some of these. What I do is I use kind of one poster board with little yellow stickies, and I put my little yellow stickies as I kind of think of things that I want to do. Sometimes they're short-term goals and sometimes they're long-term goals, but for me, that's been quite helpful. Although I find that I seem to have sometimes too many goals, and I feel that sometimes I get a little scattered there. But anyway, I do agree that it is helpful to write them down, or as I think Kathleen said, the pictures. I haven't used that idea yet, but I do like the idea of the reverse bucket list too. I've never thought of doing that. So that will be really helpful, I think, because I am trying to write my memoirs, and I'm thinking this could be a useful tool to help me along that path. So thank you for that idea.
Well, excellent. Thank you for sharing. That's a. Sorry.
I'm a list maker. It's Lynn. I'm a list maker like Doreen. Unfortunately, I have these lists all over the house too, and I have to find them and don't always follow them and everything. But with Colette, I just want to mention, if you're working on your memoirs, if you get involved with the Lifelong Learning Center, you know, they have writing groups at the college, at the College Avenue campus. And they're very helpful because you have to show up every week with something in your hand and read it. And I found I've got to get back to that because I've been working on a memoir too, but I got away from the classes, from the groups, and I stopped doing it. My problem is not just the lists. I need the incentive. I need somebody to kind of push me into it. Even though I intended to do it, it gets lost in the whole scheme of things.
Lynn, I can back up on that. I attend the As I Remember class in lifelong learning.
Yeah.
And over the last 4 or 5 years, I've probably have written 50 different stories about my family now. So it does help to have that incentive every week to have to come up with a story.
It does. And they're
And I-
very, Colette, they're not critical. This is not the critical class where they say, oh, you did this wrong or you should improve it. It's the one where they sit and listen to you and you have achieved something by producing something. So I found it very helpful.
I would love that type of group. Now, I'm assuming you're talking about Regina.
Oh, yes.
And
Oh, where are you?
I'm in Aberdeen, near Saskatoon.
But you can join the lifelong learning group. It's online. It's not the sessions have been online. May still be online next year. So I would take a look at that one. Okay, you can
All
get
right.
in touch again, Colette. You can get in touch with me and or just sk@carp.ca, and I'll send you information on it.
Thank you.
Good.
Okay, some really good pointers and tips there. Thank you very much. And we'll continue moving on to how we create or update a bucket list. And nothing really does serve as a perfect reminder of your goals better than ones you can see and visualize. And that's just what we've been talking about. So thank you, everyone. As with any project worth doing, following through on some basic steps will help you successfully create or update your bucket list. Various bucket list creators offer step-by-step advice, which I've drawn from and adapted. And I'll reference these sources as we go forward. But to get us started on this topic of doing a bucket list, maybe you want to try or adapt these steps in basically boiling them down to 5 areas. Starting with step 1, to get ready to gather your thoughts. 2, to discover ideas for your list. Then moving on to 3, find a convenient place to store your list. And again, we've touched on that in it. And then moving to grouping and finalizing ideas under common themes. And committing to keep your list doable. Okay, so let's start with step 1, and we will pause at various stages to get your thoughts and further discussion. But let's move to getting ready to gathering your thoughts. I'm sure you've heard this advice before at various points in your life for various reasons, but it's worth repeating from the perspective of doing a bucket list. Find a quiet place to concentrate and collect your thoughts. It's so easy these days with so much going on and social media and all the various ways that we have information coming at us or we can pull information. Really what this is saying is just find a quiet place, shut the rest of the world out and concentrate and collect your thoughts. And allow your mind to roam freely. Don't worry about anything that may seem crazy or impossible or, oh, geez, I shouldn't be thinking about that. Yes, you should. And don't hold back. Be ready to let it all out. Do this for you. Now, you'll also want to be prepared for inspiration anywhere, anytime. And again, this is probably advice you've heard before, but just keep a notebook handy to jot thoughts down. Or maybe you've got your phone with you and you can type your thoughts into your mobile device, be it a phone or whatever you carry with you in terms of technology that you may have on hand. But the key point here is just keep something handy that works for you. And you know this. So give yourself these simple gifts of quiet contemplation and inspiration if you haven't already done so. It's important and it works. It just works to take some quiet time with yourself. Okay, now we're going to move into some ideas for discovering ideas for your list. So now that you're ready to do a list, you'll need to start writing down some specific ideas. Some ways to generate ideas are, first of all, to think about and answer some key life questions. Now, everybody and each of you will have your own questions, but some of the ones are, what are your remaining biggest goals and dreams? What do you need to do to continue living a life of meaning to you? And I know I've said that before, but this really is about thinking where you want to find the most meaning. Now, some other thoughts are, where in the world would you like to visit? And there's been some great input so far on that very question. What if you were to die tomorrow? What would you wish you could do before you pass to the next realm? Is there any special moment you want to witness? Who have you always wanted to meet in person? Well, I could answer quite a few people. What would you like to do with the people you love, or the people in your special people in your life? And what classes have you always thought about taking? And again, we've had some good thoughts on that already. And perhaps there's something you'd still like to do to volunteer or contribute to your community. So there's all sorts of ideas, but again, it's what you want to do and what means the most to you. Well, you talk to family and friends. They not only bring new ideas to the table, but can also be a great support system to keep you motivated. And again, I've been hearing that some of you have already done that. Perhaps you even want to build that into a buddy system approach, sharing and vetting ideas with each other. Well, and you could also do a bucket list party. I kind of like this idea. We've all done birthday parties and various celebrations over our lifetime, but perhaps you want to try a bucket list party. Trade it in for a book club. trade in the book club for a bucket list club, or do both. Hey, it's your list after all, and your way of gathering ideas. Maybe you'll get ideas from both a book club and a bucket list club. And there are also, just a whole wealth of blogs you can check out. A couple of helpful ones in particular that I found are bucketlistjourney.net and one on founderjar.com, bucket list ideas in particular, but a Google search will turn up a wealth of bloggers and information. And simple, but watch TV shows or movies that relate to your goals. Travel shows, cooking shows, discovery shows, TED Talks, mentioned the bucket list movies. There's all sorts of live streaming and old traditional channel movies. So whatever appeals to you. Use some of your relaxation time to do that. And this one, you may learn a valuable lesson or two by writing your own eulogy. Really and truly, what do you want your life to look like? And what would you want your friends to say after you're gone? What legacy do you want to leave? So these are a few ideas for developing your list. And now back to you for some more thoughts and input. Ideas for developing, finding ideas. And what are your thoughts on what we've just talked about?
I have a habit of going to a bookstore. When I'm looking for ideas, what I do is I wander through the bookstore with a notepad, and anything that catches my attention, I just write it down and I make a note. Anything that catches my attention is something that I'm interested in. And so then I use that to help develop my ideas. And I find that is just an easy way to generate lots of different kinds of ideas, because absolutely anything and everything can be found in a bookstore, topics of any description. So I've always found that a useful place to start brainstorming ideas.
I like your idea, Wendy, of the eulogy. I have written a number of eulogies over, not my own, but other people's eulogies over the years. And, you know, when you try to capture a lifetime in a eulogy, it really is interesting. The things that, at least what I try to highlight with the people that I've written eulogies for, is what was those key points in their life that will make me remember them. Okay, so it was an interesting experience, but I like the idea of writing my own, maybe.
Well, Lynn, this is Lynn, and I've already written mine because I've read the eulogies that some of my friends have written for their relatives, husbands, wives, etc., children, and they're so grotesque that I figured I better write my own because I don't want anybody to write that for me. So I think we should all do that. I mean, and that will tell you, if you're writing it, that will tell you what you think is important in your life. And that's something to go on for your bucket list, you know?
Yeah, I love it because it's interesting when you, and I just started that as well to write my own when I was thinking about this idea. And it would almost be interesting to share it with others too, and as a comparison and see what the gap is in between what I think and what they would write. So that,
That's true. I didn't think of that. But I love obituaries. I mean, I read the Globe and Mail Saturday obits every week because it restores my faith in humanity to read about all these people and the things that they've done and the things they've contributed and who they are. And I think we should be, Colette, there's a place for you to be creative too, as to writing your obituary.
Good idea. Mhm.
all right. Any other thoughts? Okay, well, let's keep moving on here through our steps. Okay, now we're at finding a convenient place to store your list. Often we make lists in the moment. We have a great idea, then tuck that list away and eventually forget about it. Well, not this time. We're going to avoid that. Of course, you can store and keep your list updated in a simple Word document or Excel file. Or use online bucket list creators, such as some that I've come across on websites, bucketlist.net and bucketlist.org. These are two separate sites. They have common approaches, but different information as well. There are phone apps, a whole plethora of phone apps. A couple are I Wish and Goals on Track. But again, if you just Google phone apps for bucket lists, you'll come up with a number of ideas. The good part about the many online communities, and whichever one you choose, most offer setting goals and getting tips as you go, getting inspired with people who share the same goals. So that's why it's called a community. And seeing how others have achieved their goals. Now, a lot of these sites are free, some fee for service, so you want to watch out for that. But lots of good tools out there for you to use. Bottom line is whatever works for you and keeps you dreaming and doing. All right, so we've got ideas, we found a place to store them, and now it's time to organize the ideas. Because you don't want a list that doesn't have direction, or indeed it may be overwhelming. It's time to critically look at your list and avoid dumping it in that desk drawer or on your computer. So have a close look at your ideas and figure out if they fit into common themes, such as seasonal, finances and giving, travel, learning and creativity, places and experiences. And these are just sample categories, pardon me. There's, again, it's your list and how you wish to define it. But the key thought here is to start grouping. And you may also want to, for example, break out your main themes into sub-themes. For example, seasonal. You may have ideas that fit into spring, summer, fall, and winter bucket lists. So it's whatever helps you best organize, but it's a critical step. so that you don't feel overwhelmed, and that you can truly carry out the ideas towards making them a reality. Okay, so we are going to pause again here. And did any of that spark thoughts, or perhaps anything you would like to share that helps get organized, helps define those lists?
Well, I'm doing some memory books right now, like with pictures and stories that go along with it. And I was trying to figure out how to formalize progression from one year to another in our family. And one of the things that I have done over the years is I've written Christmas letters. And in those Christmas letters actually has a recap of almost everything we did that year.
Hmm.
So I'm going to use my Christmas letter as a starting point and then add pictures and other thoughts about the year. So I'm going to try to do it chronologically, but following along and using the Christmas letters as the base for my memory book for our family. And I also have done some family books when it looks like holidays, specific holidays where we had major holidays that our family took and stuff. But that's one of the ideas that I've thought about, is using one thing to keep it as a solid base, but then, you know, each year is what happened that particular year.
And you mentioned you've just started that, Doreen, or you're...
Oh gosh, I have like I have literally buckets in my house right now that are full of pictures and stories that I've written over the years. And now I'm taking each bucket and trying to sort through it. So I literally am in a bucket household right now.
Yes, I have a room in the condo here that I call Middle Earth, after the series, the Hobbit series, and it really is full of buckets, like yourself. And so I've got the sort underway. But yeah, I like your idea of taking it that step further. Others.
You know, you've got me thinking about it. And whenever I think of a bucket list, I think of the big things. You know, you want to travel to a country, you want to, skydive, big things. And what has really come to rest the last few days is we lost a dear friend unexpectedly a few days ago. And we've been talking about getting together, and then we don't. Oh, we got to get together, but you don't. And all of a sudden, what starts to become more important than some of these big goals of travel and seeing these other places is just maintaining some relationships and contact with your friends. And we kind of let that slip by as not being terribly important, and now we've lost that opportunity. So I think in your bucket list you've got to include some little things too, that on an ongoing basis are adding color to your life, and probably equally important as some of these big things that we plan.
Yeah, I think, Kathleen, that's a real key point. When you know, uh, we tend to think of travel as the big bucket list item, or yeah, as you say, doing whatever. This doesn't have to be huge. It can get to the back to the basics of friendship and living your life to the fullest. Again, what and you so clearly outline what gives us meaning in our life. That speaks so directly to that point. It doesn't have to be a huge grand plan that's going to make the news or something. It just needs to have meaning for you and the people in your life?
Well, I was thinking maybe what I would do, and as part of my bucket list is I would decide that once a week I would reach out and call someone that I haven't that I've lost touch with recently, and just every week, just one person reach out and actually do connect with them. Yeah, we got to get together. Well, get together. Now we will be able to do that perhaps as COVID restrictions are letting up. But even just a phone call once a week, someone that you haven't talked to for a while, pick up the phone and just talk to them. And I'm thinking that's going to be an important part of my bucket list now.
It's funny, Kathleen, that you should mention that, because that's what me and my husband did when we started with the COVID. Is we realized that there's a lot of people that are lonely out there and like living on their own and or just the two of them. So that's what we did, but it wasn't once a week, but it was about once a month. We would phone somebody we haven't spoken to in a year or 2 years or even up to 5 years. We phoned them up and just said, "How are you? How you doing?" And it was so lovely because we got caught up on what was happening in their lives, and it just seemed a little to make both of us a little less lonely in our isolation. So I think that's lovely, and I think we're going to continue doing that, because reaching out to people that they were important people in our lives at one point. We've lost touch, and it's really great to hear from them again.
Indeed. I too have experienced that these past few months, uh, just reaching out, even to someone I worked with 30 years ago. And then she said, "Oh dear, I thought you'd forgotten about me." And it was such a key reminder, such a key reminder. All right, well, I think we're ready to move on to really what we've just been talking about, which is committing and keeping our bucket list doable. And this discussion has reminded us that life really is too short not to own a bucket list and keep it updated. Whatever you do, be sure to regularly review your list. And again, we've had great input on doing that. You really are committing yourself to achieving every goal on the list with clarity and actions for success at your own pace. This doesn't have to be a rush to the finish line. It just at your own pace. And life happens. So just be ready to adjust for life changes. As the old saying goes, nothing is ever written in stone. We just need to adjust as life changes. And one final thought for you here from a Brazilian lyricist and novelist, Paulo Coelho. He's best known for his novel, The Alchemist. One day you will wake up and there won't be any more time to do the things you've always wanted. Do it now. Great advice. Okay, well that brings us to the end of the prepared material. It's really been a true pleasure spending this time with you, talking about bucket lists and their role in living our lives to the fullest. Hope you have some takeaways from this Bucket List 101 session, and some steps to dreaming and doing your bucket list. And again, to recap the 5 steps here: getting ready and gathering your thoughts, discovering ideas for your list, finding a convenient place to store your list, grouping and finalizing your ideas under common themes, and committing and doing, committing and doing, committing and doing. Thank you for joining today and participating in our discussion. Great discussion. Thank you so much for sharing all your thoughts and ideas. And before we sign off, just some items to flag for you.
Okay. All right. If you have any ideas on topics that you would find interesting to know more about or would welcome a chance to chat about over coffee, well, please forward them to sk@C.A.R.P.ca. Attention, Coffee with C.A.R.P. If you are interested in learning more about C.A.R.P and getting involved, well, also send us an email to the same address, sk@carp.ca. Please feel free to let others know about this programming and Coffee with C.A.R.P. And our next session will be on July the 6th at 10 a.m. And the topic is pets for older adults. I'll leave you with a quote from C.S. Lewis. You are never too old to set another goal or to dream a new dream. Till we meet again on Coffee with C.A.R.P., please keep smiling and stay safe. Coffee with C.A.R.P. is sponsored by Zoomer Wireless, and for any information on new phone, tablet, or cell service, check them out at zoomerwireless.ca. And thanks again, everybody. It was been a wonderful session. Wendy, thank you so much for the material that you've prepared for today. I think it really helped to focus the ideas. This session will be it has been taped, so you will be able to see it at any given time. Okay, well, thank you again, everybody. Goodbye.
Thanks, Sarah.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Charles, it's good to see you.
Good to see you too, Lynn.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye, bye all.
Bye.